Later that night, after returning from the arcade, Olivia and Morgana returned to Lena and Millie's apartment for an impromptu slumber party. Olivia felt grateful for the love of her friends, realizing the four of them felt like a little family when they spent time together. They all made beds for themselves on the sofas and living room floor so they could sleep in the same room like they were little kids again. They turned out the lights and kept chatting idly about school and their night and the futures they had ahead of them. Of course, Morgana and Lena each fell asleep almost instantly, snoring in tandem with each other. Olivia and Millie, the more cerebral, anxious members of the friend group, stayed up whispering to one another. Olivia propped herself up on her elbow, holding her head in her hand. "You know, Millie, Lena is very worried about you." Millie sighed, looking up at the ceiling. "I know. I originally didn't say much to her because I didn't want to make her worry too much. But it looks like I actually had the opposite effect. I don't know. I don't know how you do this, carrying all these secrets with you, making sure no one gets their feelings hurt." "It's not your fault, Millie," Olivia quickly replied. "I didn't mean to add more pressure. I should have known you knew how she felt." Millie just nodded. "I get it. Thank you." Olivia noticed how gracious Millie always was under pressure. She had endured so many tragedies and her life had always been chaotic, but she still had the space in her brain to worry about Lena's feelings. Olivia looked out into the dark room, thinking about how they were trailed by Carolina Crawford. A trace of worry flashed across Olivia's eyes, but she was grateful that, as far as she knew, Millie was still oblivious to the fact that she was being hunted earlier that day. It was all stressful enough without knowing that her friend would have to live in fear. She was grateful that Camilla had quickly gone after Carolina. Olivia chewed her lip. "Millie, I feel like all of the craziness of the things going on is just barely getting started. I don't think it's going to be peaceful again anytime soon." Millie gave Olivia a tight smile. "I have thought about that too." Millie's eyelids drooped. Her whole face seemed to sag under the weight of her worries. "I've always been really worried about my family. I was worrying about them a lot today." "Your family?" Olivia frowned. "What about them?" She tried to make out what she could of Millie's facial expression in the dark. Millie's brows knitted together in despair. "I'm the whole reason my family is the way they are. I'm responsible for how messed up everyone is." "What do you mean, Millie?" Olivia cried louder than she meant to. They froze as Morgana and Lena stopped snoring for a beat, but they each squirmed where they lay and then resumed. But Olivia wanted to shout some more. As far as she was concerned, Millie was the sweetest friend, the sweetest daughter, and had only been tormented by her adoptive siblings their whole lives. Olivia whispered, "What do you mean, though, for real? How do you feel responsible for your family? Did something new happen to them?" Millie sighed and told Olivia about everything that happened when she went home. How Derek hadn't been coming out of his room for so long and hadn't even seen Vanessa, who was also pregnant. How miserable her father was. And the root of all of that, the problem that began all of their unhappiness, was Millie being adopted into their family. Millie shook her head. "And my dad, he's such an upstanding, responsible, traditional man. He likes order. He was so hurt and upset by Vanessa, Butterfly, or whatever she wants to be called, getting pregnant the way she did. He can't handle it." Olivia shook her head in disbelief. "I guess I knew those things about him, but I didn't know he would handle it that way. His reaction is his own responsibility, Millie. He's the adult in this situation." Millie pulled the blanket up to her chin as if hoping that it would protect her from everything she saw. "I don't know, I just escaped. I had the opportunity to get out of there when Cameron came and I just took it. I left them all broken. I'm such a coward. I feel so bad." Olivia reached out and held Millie's hand. "No, you're not a coward at all. At all. You couldn't do anything if you stayed. You can't fix them and you didn't break them either. None of them are your responsibility." Millie squeezed Olivia's hand back. A moment went by, but Millie didn't say anything. Olivia laughed sadly. You don't believe me, do you? I'm trying to, Millie replied earnestly. They laughed together, even though both of them were still burdened by the depressing nature of it all. Olivia felt like her body overflowed with sympathy for Millie and wished she had something more helpful she could do with it. Well, I hope this will at least tear Derek down enough that maybe he'll finally learn a lesson and stop bullying you. Maybe, if anything could. Maybe, Millie shrugged. He had such a huge, volatile reaction this time. If he hadn't changed before now, I don't know. I don't think I could see that happen. If I knew how to help him, I would. Olivia sighed. Millie, you're the last person who needs to give more to that guy. He has his own fate and he has to want to change to be able to change. Millie nodded. I know, you're right. It's really late. We should go to sleep. Olivia did realize that her eyes felt heavy. Yeah, that's a good point. I love you, Millie. I love you too, Olivia. Millie muttered softly, closing her eyes. Good night. Good night. The next morning, Olivia woke up early. Millie, Lena, and Morgana were all still asleep. She washed up and prepared everyone a simple breakfast. She purposely made a bit more noise as she brought breakfast to the dining table and her three friends began to wake up and stretch. Olivia took her time getting their plates and drinks out onto the table, and she was ready just as the three of them had taken turns washing up in the bathroom and getting dressed. They all tucked into the meal with oohs and ahs at Olivia's culinary skills. We're so lucky to have a chef in the friend group. Millie smiled at Olivia. Yes, thank you so much. Lena loudly agreed through a mouthful of food. Morgana frowned, craning her neck in the direction of the kitchen. Is that everything there is? Millie scooped some of her remaining food onto Morgana's plate. Lena looked up wistfully. If you ask me, we should all split the cost of a mansion together when we're older. Then we can all live together and eat Olivia's food every day. Olivia laughed, silently musing to herself that she might just be happy making food for her friends every day and never leaving the house. Maybe. Millie looked at her watch. Oh no, we have to leave for school soon. The girls quickly gobbled up the rest of their food and rushed to get ready. On the way to school, they all chatted and laughed, feeling refreshed by a full night and morning of each other's company. They wondered why they ever had to hang out with anyone else. As soon as they entered the Marshall School, they saw Sam Feinstein and Francis. After saying hello to each other, Olivia asked Millie to show the two of them the recording of Bert Albertson and his lawyer making comments plotting to kill Sam Feinstein. Sam and Francis each took an earbud, the two of them frowning as they listened. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. As they finished, Olivia asked, What do you think? Sam gritted his teeth. I knew there was something sketchy going on with Peter Ark and Bert Albertson. Wow. Olivia nodded. And they have their eyes on you. When will the next negotiation be? Francis frowned, trying to process the information they were just given. In a few days. Olivia turned to Francis and Millie. I think we'll need you two again that day. Millie and Francis both agreed, but Sam interjected. No, Peter Ark is dangerous. I should go. No, it's not safe for you. Olivia looked sly. But don't worry, I will go next time too. Millie gasped. You're going to? Will you appear this time? Logically speaking, you still shouldn't be involved. A hint of ruthlessness crossed Olivia's face. This involves the 7th grade families. I know it. I would like to see which person in those families dislikes me so much that they're using this kind of underhanded method to frame me. Morgana smiled. That's interesting. At least you're not dealing with Saibon Harmony this time. Morgana? Millie whispered fiercely, elbowing Morgana. Morgana's face fell as she looked at Sam, about to apologize. Oh no, that's right. It's nothing. Sam shrugged, his expression unreadable. Let's go back to class. He turned and walked toward their next classroom, leaving his friends all looking at one another, each wondering if he was all right. After her friends entered the classroom, all of them ruminating on the disturbing recording they just heard, Olivia walked up to Francis's desk and spoke low. He listened attentively. I gave the audio to Violet Cartwright last night. When you head out after school, ask her for a copy and then do some noise reduction. I think it will be useful for our next negotiations when I join. Francis smiled and nodded, eager to be helpful in this situation. Yes, ma'am, just leave it to me. But, Lena interrupted, leaning over to them, if I remember correctly, that kind of recording legally cannot be used as evidence because they didn't consent to be recorded. So it's not useful in a lawsuit. Millie walked over to them as everyone else in class milled around, waiting for the bell to ring. Yeah, she's right. One of them is a lawyer. He knows how it works. I bet that's the only reason he was bold enough to say something like that in the first place. Lena muttered. Well, that and he's obviously a total dirtbag. But Olivia smiled mysteriously. Oh, it doesn't matter. I will not use it as official evidence for the lawsuit. Millie saw the look on Olivia's face and knew that her brilliant friend already had an idea. What are you planning? Olivia tossed her hair playfully. Don't worry, I'll tell you all the details later. As they saw how confident Olivia was and heard that she had a plan, all of Olivia's friends felt the first sunbeams of optimism they'd felt since the lawsuit was announced. Their stomachs had been in knots that whole time, and something inside them finally unclenched. As long as Olivia was in control, they felt like everything would be solved, and they did not have to be afraid of anything. But as Millie saw someone appear in the doorway of the classroom, it was like she fell through the floor into ice water. She was drowning. Derek. He was standing in the doorway, and she was suddenly frozen. She almost didn't recognize him at first. He had cut his hair and dyed it a new color. It was almost as if he had transformed into a new person overnight. Then he walked toward her. She felt the use of her limbs returning and, without even thinking about it, she stood up and walked toward him too. She narrowed her eyes at him. You're here to go to school. Yes, he replied hesitantly. Millie was trying to assess whether she was going into fight or flight mode. Your hair, wasn't it long yesterday? In a different color? Derek scratched his head self-consciously. I cut it and I came here to apologize to you. What? Millie almost laughed. That was the last thing she expected him to say. Apologize? You? Yeah, Derek answered her. I need to apologize for everything yesterday. You didn't deserve that. I'm so sorry. Millie was caught completely off guard by him saying that. She remembered things she'd heard about abusive people who moved through cycles of abuse and apology and still wanted to protect herself. But it wasn't a cycle Derek had ever gone through before, at least to her. Derek looked away, trying to figure out how to add something else. After you left yesterday, Dad had a health scare. He passed out. Millie's heart skipped a beat. What? Derek quickly added. You don't have to worry, he's fine. He woke up on the way to the hospital. Joshua and I were there with him, and then the doctor said he's fine. He said that Dad has been taking a lot of medication recently. Derek paused, then smiled bitterly. I only found out yesterday that he's being treated for serious depression. Usually it's been suppressed with his really heavy medication he's on, but he's developed a certain degree of resilience on it. Millie heard Derek's words and her mind turned to a static of worries and confusion. She was curious what kind of medication her dad was on. She wasn't sure what kind of depression medication would have those effects. She hoped her dad wasn't self-medicating. Derek shook his head. It was also yesterday when I suddenly realized for the first time that there was a white hair on his head. It took him a while, but he's getting old. Maybe it was the first time I've ever actually really looked at him. I don't know. I've been very selfish for a long time. Derek lowered his head. Millie opened her mouth, wanting to say something in response, but did not know where to start. Derek really was like a whole new person. Derek sighed, studying Millie's face. So I came here to apologize to you. I'm sorry for what happened in the past. Millie gently shook her head. her mind wanting to add that by the past he meant yesterday and every day of their entire lives before it. But she wanted to allow him to change. He was making an effort. She cleared her throat. I appreciate you saying that. It'll never be okay what happened between us, and I don't know if I will ever forgive you. But still, thank you. Please take good care of Dad and of Vanessa. They only have you. Derek nodded, his heart filled with mixed feelings. Yeah, of course. That's better than I deserve to hear, honestly. After so many years of facing each other day and night, he forcefully sabotaged his relationship with the person who should have been closest to him. He was clearly the source of all of their issues, but he had spent so long stubbornly hating Millie and blaming everything he was ever angry for on her. He deeply loved her, but he pushed her away. All those years, he had been focusing his hurt in the wrong direction. Fortunately, he had finally realized it. He vowed that he would spend the rest of his life trying to make up for it. Where is Dad now? Millie asked. Derek nodded and silently chastised himself. He was focusing on the wrong thing again. He's still in the hospital. I'm going there later today to check in with him and his doctors. Tomorrow I'll be applying for summer school. I'm hoping to finally graduate by next year. Graduate? Millie was stunned for a moment. You're really going to do it? Derek smiled wryly. Yeah, I can catch up next year, and that can be my final year of high school if I do summer school and some extracurriculars. It feels nice for you to worry about me, little sister. Millie's face turned red. Don't call me that. It felt very strange for her to be called sister by Derek Brown. Even though having him hate her and reject her had felt so much worse, this brought with it a new kind of pain. She waved him away. It's almost time for class. You should go. Get back to the hospital early to see Dad. I will also go see him after school today, and I don't want to overlap with you. Okay, Derek replied and looked at Millie with his eyes full of emotion. He looked like he was about to ask her something else, but thought better of it. He just looked at her for a moment. He decided that after that moment, he would let go of all of his love for her. He was destined to have no future with her. He knew that there was a man much more suitable than he was by her side now. She could make her own family now, and they wouldn't be so broken. Derek would spend the rest of his life apologizing to her, and the best way he could do that was by staying as far away from her as possible. Millie also felt more than a little mixed up. She did not know what the future would hold for her and Derek's relationship. She knew that realistically, she would have to see him again at some point. But if he was serious about trying to win her forgiveness, then it was possible that their future would not be too terrible. At that moment, Cameron stepped in between the two of them. He grasped Millie around her waist and pulled her a couple feet away from Derek. She looked up at Cameron's face to see a pair of angry eyes staring menacingly at Derek. She knew that that was what Derek deserved. And Derek just faced Cameron's threatening look and did not back down. He gave Cameron a respectful nod, trying to communicate that he would no longer be a problem for Millie or for Cameron. Goodbye, he said aloud. Millie nodded back to him. Yes, goodbye. Cameron remained silent. He was uninterested in letting go of the memory of Derek violently choking Millie on the street not long before. Derek turned from both of them and walked into the hallway. Millie suddenly remembered something, calling after him. Oh, remember to contact Millie. She is looking for you. Derek turned back to her with a smile, but did not break his stride as he walked down the hall toward his own classroom. That night, Francis received a copy of the sinister recording of Bert Albertson and his lawyer, and applied a noise reduction filter to it the way Olivia had asked. What he did worked very well. It was much clearer and easier to hear what they were discussing. Francis sent the file to Olivia and video called her. Hey, have you listened? He asked. How is it? It's a pretty rudimentary AI filter, but I thought it made a big difference. Olivia nodded. Yeah, it's sounding good. You should get some sleep tonight. Leave the rest to me. All right, Francis replied, wishing he could be in on whatever she was up to. Good night. Good night, Olivia wished him as she closed out their video call. After listening to the recording a few times, she took out her phone and texted Violet. Help me find out which hotel the people from No World are staying at. Focus on monitoring that lawyer specifically. She thought that the lawyer was their weak point. He was the one they could break. Morgana appeared in the room, wrapping her hair in a towel. Hey, I'm done showering. You can get in there now. Okay. Olivia answered her and stood up. She suddenly felt dizzy, wondering if it was because she had been sitting for a while. Olivia? Morgana was startled. Olivia braced herself on her desk. Her body swayed. Olivia, Morgana repeated. What's wrong with you? Olivia shook her head. Nothing. I'm fine. I just stood up too fast. Morgana frowned. You don't look like you're fine. I asked you to go to the doctor to get checked out, but you keep putting it off. Olivia felt like her vision cleared and she could stand unsupported. She cautiously removed her hands from the desk. I'm really fine. I'm going to take a shower. Morgana stamped her foot. No, not good enough. Your mom is going to the hospital tomorrow for a follow-up about her foot. Whatever you say, you have to go with her and get someone to look at you. Take care of yourself, Olivia. Olivia waved her hand as she picked out a change of pajamas to take to the bathroom. All right, I got it. She knew she just had to agree. There was no other way of pacifying Morgana. Morgana watched Olivia leave the room and was very worried. Speaking of doctors, she also wondered why her brother Brent did not contact her. It didn't make any sense. As soon as Olivia was out of the room, Morgana picked up her phone and called her brother Atticus, who, characteristically, needed a couple of calls before he finally picked up. Atticus, did you call Brent like I asked you to? Atticus was pouring a cup of coffee when he heard Morgana's question and was struggling to do both at the same time. After a moment, he answered, Oh, yes, I called. Morgana raised an eyebrow. And you asked him to come to me, right? Atticus was stumped by Morgana's question. Oh, did I say that to him? I don't remember. Morgana felt uneasy. Atticus, did you forget? This was important. I think so. Atticus nodded. I did make the call. I didn't say I remembered. Let me make another call to Brent to confirm. Okay. Morgana rubbed the space between her eyebrows. This time, let me know as soon as you talk to him. Will do. Atticus hung up the phone, took a long sip of coffee, and dialed another number. Soon, Brent picked up the phone, his eyes glued to a computer screen as he typed, You're awake, Atticus? Atticus ran his hand through his crazy hair. Hey, did I call you a few days ago? Brent frowned, remembering. Yeah, that phone call was really strange. What did I say to you? Atticus asked. Brent's eyes widened. I don't know, you just snored. If your snores are a language I'm supposed to know, then that miscommunication is on me, I guess. But I never learned it, so I have no idea what you were trying to tell me. Atticus nodded. I see, I fell asleep as I called you. Or maybe called you in my sleep. Morgana told me to call you. Brent's hands paused, typing on the keyboard. Morgana? He looked concerned. What happened to Morgana? Oh. Atticus seemed surprised by the question. He thought about it. You know, I don't remember. Brent cradled his forehead in his hand, fantasizing about slapping Atticus across the face like someone in an old-timey movie trying to whack some sense into somebody. Atticus continued. But I think it was something very important. She called me again today to ask me about it. That's why I remembered. I'm going to head to Europe at the end of the summer. How long are you going to stay there? Have you found that person yet? Brent's shoulders sagged. There is no progress on that. This Chris Jones seems to have vanished from the face of the earth. No matter how hard I try, I can't find him. Brent used every tactic available to him and to his contacts, but none of them could find where Chris had disappeared to either. Atticus nodded. Well, then why don't you come back to New York City? Morgana is looking for you, then you can come with me to Europe at the end of the summer. A strange look flashed across Atticus's eyes. If you can't find a living person, let me ask a dead person for you. Brent looked troubled by this ability of Atticus's, which he was familiar with. Well, I think I have no other choice at this point. I'll get over there as quickly as I can, but I need you to check on Morgana for me first. Now? Atticus looked over at a clock. I don't know what time it is where you are, but normal people here are going to sleep. Brent rolled his eyes. His brother was anything but normal. Then tomorrow. You can go tomorrow. Okay, Atticus agreed cheerfully. He hung up the phone. After hanging up, Brent turned his phone in his hands. He looked over at the young man who sat next to him, furiously typing away on his laptop, his hollow eyes showing that he had not slept for a few days. Brent frowned as he looked at him. Ben, don't push yourself too hard. Sven shifted his gaze from his computer to Brent, blinking as his vision adjusted. Did you find anything? No, Brent replied. And at this point, I don't know if we will. Come with me back to New York City. Brent saw the reluctance in Sven's eyes and sighed. Kay is really important to the hunters. At most, they'll think of a way to convince him to stay with them. But I don't think they'll hurt him. Sven closed his eyes, which burned. He needed to sleep. I know. You're right, but it's hard not to worry. Brent sighed. Hey, Chris Jones will be fine. At the meeting of the Assassins Union, he'll have to be there. It's impossible for them to hide him forever, no matter how much they might want to. Sven nodded. That was the only thing that offered him any comfort at that point. Brent sat up, trying to project a confidence he did not exactly possess. I will book a flight back to New York now. You come with me. Since Chris won't be there with you, you'll have to take charge of all of your guys' activities. Brent knew that Sven was especially important in the New York underworld. This was a critical moment for their assassin group, and they could not afford to be thrown into chaos right before the meeting at the end of the summer. Sven's voice was hoarse. I know. Okay. Book me a ticket. Okay. Brent sized up Sven. He took out a pill and handed it to him. Take this. It will be good for you. Without any doubts or questions, Sven took it from Brent. Okay, he replied, and popped the pill right into his mouth. As soon as he swallowed it, he felt a cool, comforting sensation ooze through his entire body. After the comfortable feeling passed, there was a warmth. Sven felt his whole body relax, and the world in front of him became blurrier and blurrier. Sven didn't even have the strength to raise his hand to rub his eyes to try to clear his vision. Sven's vision began to close in, and he fainted. Gump. He fell to the ground. Brent stood over Sven's body and muttered, Book me a ticket, book me a ticket. Just because he's a Jorgensen, he thinks he can talk to me like I'm a servant. What happened? Brent turned to see Dave Simon, his trusted ally, looking shocked, having just entered the room to see Sven lying on the floor at an odd, twisted angle. Nothing, Brent responded coolly. He fell asleep. It's good that you're back. Carry him to bed. The corner of Dave's mouth twitched. He knew this was a lie. What, sleeping? Brent didn't respond. Dave carried Sven into the bedroom, dropping him onto the bed. When he returned to the room, Dave asked, Brent, is he really sleeping? Brent waited for the page on the screen to load, confirming that his ticket purchase went through. He's not dead, but you know my rule of thumb, the less you know, the better. Dave sighed. He knew that when it came to people like Brent, this was the truth. Back at Olivia's, Morgana saw her phone light up with an incoming call. It was her brother Atticus calling her back. She answered with her eyes already narrowed. So you just forgot to call, Brent? Morgana raised her eyes expectantly. I did not forget, and hello, by the way, that's how phone calls usually start. Atticus said defensively as he finished the last sip of his coffee. I called him, but then fell asleep during. He shrugged. It's all fine, though. Brent said he's coming to New York right away. I can stop by tomorrow to visit. Tomorrow? Morgana thought hesitantly about her own schedule. I have to go to class tomorrow morning. Then I'm going with Olivia to the doctor for her checkup in the afternoon. she continued in a low voice. Trust me, if I don't take her there myself, Olivia will never get it done. Can you come sometime after that? Yes, we can figure out a time, Atticus said. I'll call you closer to then. Okay, great, thanks. Good night. Morgana hung up the call. Just then, Olivia finished bathing and returned from the steamy bathroom. Who is that on the phone? Olivia asked as she dried her wet hair with a towel. That was my brother, Atticus, Morgana said as she set her phone off to the side. Tomorrow after school, I am taking you to the doctor. I will have none of your sass about it. Okay, fine, Olivia grumbled. She knew that if she did not finally go to the doctor, Morgana would take her by force. Hopefully, I can get a clean bill of health so that Morgana will finally stop worrying, Olivia thought. I feel fine. I don't think anything is even wrong with me. She groaned inwardly. You have a deal. Morgana shook Olivia's hand enthusiastically. I guess we do. Olivia sighed, resigned. Suddenly, Olivia's phone rang and she saw Violet was calling. What's up? She answered. Miss, I have some news. Mark DeLillo and the Rose Company have plans to make a really big announcement in the next few days. I heard it myself, Violet reported. It's going to be a press conference announcing their land acquisition in Brooklyn and… Violet paused. He's going to use the opportunity to announce that the Rose Company is shuttering their hospitality division to focus solely on real estate. Is that so? Olivia coldly snorted. It seems like the Rose Company's reputation in hospitality has declined sooner than I thought. You mean… Violet paused for a moment as she pieced it together. Her eyes lit up. You mean Mark DeLillo wants to shake up the Rose Company? If the Rose Company had not gone down so much in quality for its hospitality, he wouldn't need to transition entirely to real estate. Technically, they're somewhat related industries, but still. If Mark DeLillo wanted to transition the Rose Company to focus on real estate, it's definitely going to abandon the Nevin part of their alliance in the dust, since they're in hospitality, Olivia explained. Mark is really ruthless, isn't he? Violet frowned. She knew Mark was bad, but she did not fully realize how bad. Yes, you're just finding out for yourself, Olivia said calmly. In spite of her cool demeanor, her eyes were gloomy. Not only is Mark DeLillo ruthless, he's one of the most ruthless people in New York. If only you could know what I know. If only everyone knew he was the kind of person who would plot to kill his fiancée. Olivia thought to herself and shuddered at the memory. What are you going to do? Violet asked. The New York City business world is not easy to move through. The market won't look kindly on such a sudden and dramatic transition like the one Mark is planning, Olivia said coldly. It's about time someone taught him a lesson in best business practices. You mean ruin his press conferences and expose his plans? Violet guessed. Ruin his press conference? Olivia snorted. Just the opposite. I want to personally support him. Violet, think of a way to effectively promote this press conference so that everybody shows up. Okay, Violet said as she accepted her assignment and started thinking. There was a hint of hesitation in her voice. Miss, I can't help but wonder. Would this make him even more respected if we're backing him? Would it make his real estate ventures even more popular in the future and create competition for ourselves? What do you mean? Olivia scoffed. The more successful, the better. The higher he goes, the longer the fall when I finally annihilate him. He'll never recover. Olivia knew she would never allow the Rose Company to succeed without some other angle on it. Mark DeLillo already rose to prominence and power in New York City once in my past life. I will not be letting the same mistake happen again. Olivia swore the promise to herself. She didn't just want the Rose Company to suffer. She wanted it to disappear entirely. You should probably start getting the news out now, Olivia nudged. Now? Violet said, already way ahead of you. We'll talk more about it tomorrow, Olivia said. She pinched the bridge of her nose. Tomorrow afternoon. Morgana heard this and her ears perked up. Hey, not tomorrow afternoon, you're not. Aren't you forgetting something? Morgana glared at Olivia as warning. Right, Olivia quickly changed her words upon seeing Morgana's pointed gaze. Tomorrow morning. Let's talk about this again tomorrow morning at the office. I have something in the afternoon. Okay, Violet confirmed and hung up the phone. Olivia tossed her phone aside when the call ended. All right, we won't go to school tomorrow. We'll go to the office tomorrow morning to talk this out with Violet. That way I will go to the doctor in the afternoon. Happy? That's more like it, Morgana snorted. Don't you think you can trick your way out of this? I know, I'm not trying to get out of it. Olivia sighed and shook her head. I'll let Victoria know, Morgana said and walked out into the hallway. We're finally going to find out what's wrong with you. Meanwhile, the Cooper family found out the same news as what Violet had just shared. Brett Cooper paced around in the study. No matter what, he could not calm his mind down. He could not believe that the Rose Company wanted to transition fully to the real estate industry. He knew that the real estate industry was indeed a very lucrative path typically. But if the Rose Company was turning its back on the hospitality industry, what did that mean for the Cooper family's alliance with the Rose Company? The Cooper business was much more involved in the hospitality industry side of things. A move like what Mark DeLillo was doing would make the Cooper alliance obsolete. The real estate industry was the obviously stronger business over hospitality, so that made things look bleak for them as well. He worried that Mark DeLillo might not even bother now to give him a chance if he was already thinking of changing industries. Suddenly, Brett felt a wave of a new idea wash over him. He reasoned that if Mark DeLillo were his son-in-law, like he had planned, of course he would help him out and loop him in on business success. In light of Mark's new plan, Brett understood it was more important than ever to secure a relationship with Mark DeLillo. He furrowed his brows as his thoughts ran wild. He imagined how much better things would be if one of his daughters locked down Mark DeLillo. What security that would bring. But his eldest daughter had already made her opinion painfully clear. She thought she was too good for Brett's little plan. No, instead of Beatrix, it would have to be Melanie. Meanwhile, in Grandpa Nevin's VIP hospital room, Jacob Nevin listened to the report from his most trusted assistant Lane, who had come to visit to update him on business affairs. Jacob's eyes narrowed suspiciously at what he heard. This matter has yet to be completely confirmed, Lane said, but it's about time. You see, our alliance with the Rose Company. Let's not talk about this subject for now, Grandpa Jacob Nevin asked in a tired voice. Tell me, how is Jared doing lately? He thought about how it seemed that Jared had been right. Mark DeLillo did announce that he was leaving hospitality in favor of going all in on the real estate market. And perhaps he really was laundering money. He would need to get the Nevin family out of this mess as soon as possible. Jared, sir? Lane thought carefully for a moment. I saw him downstairs just now, but when I came up he went the other way. What's wrong, you haven't seen him? Someone doesn't want me to see him, Grandpa Nevin said in a low, simmering voice and narrowed his eyes dangerously. Jacob Nevin was not stupid. He knew that his youngest grandson would not stay away from him of his own volition. Jacob realized that he wasn't even dead yet, and still his family dared to do such petty things right in front of him. He had no idea what they were trying to do to him. He cursed his traitorous, manipulative family members. Upon hearing this, Lane understood that there was something suspicious going on. He was smart enough to become the chief executive assistant to Jacob Nevin, so of course he caught on that something was wrong. You go and contact our lawyer, Grandpa Nevin said coldly and set his jaw. I want him to come over for a chat next week. You want to... Lane stammered, confused but quickly catching on. I want to make a big change to my will, Jacob Nevin declared ruthlessly. Jake Nevin made his way back to Grandpa Nevin's VIP hospital suite after buying himself some dinner. He opened the door and saw Lane, his grandfather's assistant, sitting with Grandpa Jacob. Jake had the vague feeling that something was wrong, but he maintained the smile on his face for good measure. "Grandpa, are you feeling better?" Jake asked in a friendly manner. "Much better," Grandpa Nevin answered truthfully, though he knew it was not the way Jake thought he meant it. He turned to his assistant and nodded. "I think that about wraps it up, thank you." He did not want Jake to hear what they had been discussing. "Very good." Lane nodded and stood. "Please rest well. I will come back in 2 days." "Thank you," Grandpa Jacob responded. Lane walked out of the hospital suite. When he passed by Jake, he nodded to him politely and said, "Mr. Nevin?" before he went straight out and left. "Goodbye," Jake answered. He settled into the room and set down his food, but something was still eating at him. "Grandpa, I left something downstairs," Jake announced, standing suddenly. "Feel free to go back and find it. I'm not going anywhere." Grandpa Jacob shrugged and lowered his head slightly. "All right," Jake said and hurried out. Grandpa Jacob watched Jake leave, and as soon as he was gone, he softly muttered to himself, "I'm not afraid that you will forget something. I'm only afraid that you will forget who you are." He strongly felt that Jake Nevin had fallen too far beyond help. In the hallway, Jake saw who he had been looking for, running to quickly catch up with Lane. "Hey, Lane, hold up a second," he called out. Lane turned to see Jake trying to flag him down, and he knew he had no choice but to stop and talk to him. He forced a smile. "Jake, is something wrong? Is there something I can help you with?" "Lane, you're my grandfather's most trusted assistant. You don't take orders from me." Jake laughed lightly with a fake smile. Lane laughed along uncomfortably at Jake's obvious disingenuousness. "Jake, you flatter me. I'm just an employee of the Nevin Company doing my job." Lane knew what Jake was trying to do, and he tried to think ahead of a plan to handle it. Jake laughed too loudly at Lane's response and smiled. "Oh, stop. There are 2 types of people. Those who work to get themselves ahead, and those who let others get ahead of them. Smart people are the latter. I mean, the former. Is that right? Which one is the first one?" "The former," Lane said helpfully. "Right, the former. They do what they need to do to get ahead." Jake continued, acting cool. "I'm not sure I'm following where you're going with this," Lane said with a slightly confused expression. "Lane, you are a smart man. Of course you can understand what I'm saying." Jake smiled conspiratorially. "Grandpa Jacob is sick. You are the one that has to keep an eye on the company, obviously." "What are you saying? The whole Nevin Company is counting on you now, not me?" Lane corrected Jake. "My only job is to serve your grandfather while he's here in the hospital. I don't have time to look after the company. Besides, you have your own assistant." Jake laughed. "I'm afraid I'm going to have to trouble you to keep an eye on the company as well then. When I inherit the Nevin business in the future, I will need your help. You'll basically be working for me anyway eventually." Lane smiled tightly and knew Jake was trying to lure him into something. After a pause, Lane said, "I will help the company however is needed. All this time, I've been busy taking care of Grandpa Jacob. I don't have time to go to school, much less to the office. You came by to update my grandfather on the goings-on in the company, right?" Jake asked as he sized up Lane. "I did," Lane replied carefully. Jake nodded. "I know you are following orders not to tell me, but I am curious about what's going on with the company. Why don't you just go ahead and tell me and it can be our little secret?" Lane lowered his head and annoyance flashed through Lane's eyes for a moment. He finally looked up and smiled at Jake again. "I don't feel comfortable with what you're saying." Lane knew that if he gave Jake what he wanted at this moment, he'd never be able to hold a boundary again. But he also knew Jake could threaten his job. He quickly decided to carefully filter some information for Jake. "Lane, you know the condition of my grandfather is in. Soon I will take over everything in this family's company. There's no reason to avoid saying it out loud. There are many things that I will need your guidance on. I have always valued your promising talent, but Jake paused and looked at Lane threateningly. This business is a young man's game. You are not so young anymore, are you, Lane? I wonder if you'll be able to keep up with the pace of this fast-growing company, Jake said with heavy implication. Lane's eyes twitched at Jake's threat. He could not believe how such a person could be the heir to the Nevin Company. He completely agreed with Jacob Nevin that it was urgent to have a lawyer change Jacob's will. But at that moment, he still had to deal with Jake right in front of him. Lane thought for a moment, then smiled. I guess you really do want to check up on the company. Are you willing to cooperate? Jake raised his eyebrows. Of course I will cooperate with you as much as I possibly can. Lane smiled agreeably. Then he told Jake a few innocent facts about the company that did not betray Jacob Nevin's trust. That's it? Jake frowned slightly. He was not at all satisfied with Lane's anticlimactic answer. Well, Lane thought carefully for a moment. There is actually one more thing, but this information has not been confirmed yet. Tell me, Jake said impatiently. This information is related to the partnership between the Nevin Company and the Rose Company, Lane said in a low voice. The Rose Company? Jake frowned. What about the Rose Company? The Rose Company recently bought a lot of land in Brooklyn. Some are predicting that the Rose Company might be pivoting entirely to the real estate market and away from hospitality, but it's just rumors. There's no certainty yet, Lane explained. Real estate only? Jake asked, stunned. He knew if Mark DeLillo went all in on real estate, that meant he would abandon their hospitality wing of the business. He thought Mark had put so much focus into their hotels and restaurants, which would benefit the Nevin business. Jake had been counting on it. He wondered if Mark was going to leave them in the dust with their part of the business dead in the water. A strong sense of anxiety overcame Jake. He had the feeling that this rumor could be very credible. If there's nothing else you need from me, I'll be heading out, Lane said. That's all. Thank you. Jake waved his hand in a daze. By the way, you and we did not have this conversation, Jake said pointedly. Don't worry, I didn't say anything I shouldn't have. Lane smiled reassuringly. He knew that the information about the Rose Company and the implications for the Nevin Company would have spread quickly all over New York City, and Jake would hear it sooner or later. Lane finally left. The more Jake thought about what Lane had told him, the more panicked he became. The partnership dynamic between him and Mark DeLillo suddenly felt very unfair. Mark DeLillo knew Jake's secrets, but Jake didn't have any leverage on Mark DeLillo in return to balance things out. He took out his phone and dialed Mark's number. As soon as Mark picked up, Jake launched straight to the point. Mark, what the hell are you doing? What? Mark exclaimed, stunned by Jake's tone. What are you talking about? You bought all this land in Brooklyn. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Jake gritted his teeth. This is what you're calling me about? Mark sneered. He knew news of his real estate ventures would be public, and he did not need to hide it. The Rose Company's profits were still rising, but it wasn't reaching expectations. Enthusiasm had cooled, and there were fewer and fewer guests at his hotels. Mark knew he had to turn things around quickly. Luckily, Beatrix had come up with a brilliant plan to cut the hospitality business entirely. Why are you still laughing? Jake demanded. He felt his stomach drop. If you continue with this, then I will be irrelevant at the Rose Company. I won't have any position at all because you're dropping our part of the business. Then I guess that's what's happening, Mark said coldly. He did not care at all. Mark thought he had Jared Nevin on his team now, and he was a much better business partner. He had no use for Jake anymore. What? Jake asked, shocked. That's it? That's right, Mark said. Come on, you never liked this partnership anyway. If you're so unhappy with all my decisions, it makes sense to just call it quits now. Jake stood there in the hospital hallway, stunned into silence as he held his phone to his ear. He could not believe Mark DeLillo was cutting him loose like that. Jake choked through gritted teeth. He was recently had trouble hearing over the blood boiling in his ears. Mark did not care at all about Jake, and even enjoyed seeing him blow his top. Don't worry, Jake, I will keep we'll call it your little secret to my grave, assuming you continue to be my friend. New York City is a big place, but it's still a small town, if you know what I mean. I would hate to have to share your secret if something turns sour, Mark said threateningly. Just don't do anything stupid, Kay? Jake's voice shook. Mark, I really don't have any value to you anymore. Your words, not mine, but I guess you could put it that way if you want to. Mark sneered. Jake clenched his fists and finally yelled, Mark DeLillo, you will regret this. Jake immediately hung up the phone and threw it as hard as he could down the hallway. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Jake kicked over a metal waste bin next to him and it crashed against the wall. Hey you, what are you doing? You're in a hospital right now. A nurse called out and rushed toward the commotion. Get lost! Do you hear me? Out of my sight now! Jake shouted at the nurse with a murderous look on his face. The nurse took 2 steps back and stared wide-eyed at Jake in fear. She had never seen a patient's family member completely lose control of themselves like that in her whole career, and thought perhaps he was experiencing some kind of psychotic break. She quickly reached for an emergency phone on the wall. Security? In the VIP wing? She took a few more steps back to gain some distance between Jake and herself. Damn it, you can't shout back at me. My family are big donors here. How dare you? Jake said as he stepped menacingly towards the nurse. You stay right there, the nurse warned. Oh! Jake yelled in anger. He was furious that the nurse just happened to show up when he was in the middle of his own crisis. Jake raised his hand to grab the nurse by the arm. Stop! The nurse raised her arms to fight back, but at the last moment, someone hurried forward and intervened. Before the nurse could understand what happened, Derek Brown stood between the nurse and Jake. Get out of my way, Jake demanded. This is none of your business, so stay out of it. This is not the way to deal with whatever you're going through, Derek said in a calm but firm voice. He had not expected to stop an assault in the middle of the hospital, but he was glad he was there in time. He cringed to think that recently he had been just like this out-of-control guy in the exact same hospital. Who do you think you are telling me what to do? Jake scoffed. He looked Derek up and down and thought that he looked familiar, but he could not place where he had seen him before. I don't want to fight today. Either you get out of here now or stay right here and wait for the police to get here and really show you that you made the wrong decision, Derek said coldly. Huh. Jake snorted and glared at the nurse behind Derek. He did not think this nurse was worth getting into a physical fight over, so he promptly turned around and left in a huge huff. He picked up his phone that he had flung down the hall on his way out. Well, thank you, the nurse stammered at Derek. Don't worry about it, Derek said quietly to the nurse, trying to avoid her gaze. Hey, it's you, the nurse exclaimed as soon as she recognized Derek's face. She had seen him dutifully remain at his father's bedside every day since he had been admitted to the hospital. Yeah. Derek also recognized the nurse who he had just rescued. Just be careful out there, he mumbled, then turned around and left. The nurse stood where she was and watched Derek curiously as he walked away. She guessed that he was not very old, but she was grateful that he had helped her. Meanwhile, Jake fumed outside, struggling to get himself under control. He felt like he might explode with rage. Jake recognized that the partnership between himself and Mark had been unequal from the start. When Mark DeLillo tried to start his unproven high-risk empire in New York City, Jake had faith in him and helped Mark more than anyone else. Now that it was Jake's turn to need some support, in light of all the uncertainty surrounding his position as the Nevin family heir, Mark was dumping him, in business terms. It could not happen at a worse time, and after everything he had done for Mark, Jake had never felt so betrayed. He bit his lip and thought desperately about what to do. Then he had an idea. It was time to call in the big guns. He did not go back to his grandfather's hospital room and instead went to the stairwell that was a bit farther away. Once he was securely alone, he took out his phone and dialed a number. "Sahibon," he said urgently. "I'm moving forward with the plan. I need your help." Jake listened to the voice on the other end, his face growing redder and redder. "Well, where the hell are you then?" he screamed into the phone. On the other end, he was met with a beeping sound followed by silence. "Hello? Hello?" he shouted. "God damn it. That stupid girl. Who needs her anyways?" Jake muttered to himself as he began to rapidly dial another number on his phone. He held the phone to his ear and waited. After 3 rings, someone picked up. "Hello?" a female voice answered. "Hi, Melly, do you remember me?" Jake cringed inwardly about having to call someone he had used as an underling in the past for help. "I do, yes," Melly said warily. She remembered exactly who Jake was. "Well, good, I have another job for you. Meet me at the Rose Hotel on Sunday," Jake said. "I'm not interested," Melly said bluntly. "A down payment has already been sent to your account. If you want to reject it, you'll need to come and explain why in person this Sunday. See you at 9 p.m. Jake demanded and hung up the phone before Melly could answer. "Hello? Hello?" Melly frowned as she realized Jake had indeed hung up on her. She had originally been waiting for a call from Derek Brown and did not expect for the caller to be Jake Nevin instead. She felt disappointed. The only person she wanted to talk to now was Derek, and she didn't want to get tangled up in anything else. "I really should have waited until Derek got in touch with me before I gave the recording of the No World negotiators to Millie." Millie sighed to herself regretfully. She felt hopeless now that it seemed Millie had not succeeded in finding Derek. Millie thought that she would have heard from him by then if she had. She felt stupid for placing all of her hopes and trust in someone who she considered to be her rival. Just then, Millie's phone rang again. She groaned, thinking it was Jake Nevin again. But when she glanced at the screen, she was stunned by the caller ID. She quickly picked up the phone. "Hello?" she said carefully, afraid to scare the caller away. "Millie," Derek said. "Millie said you were looking for me." Millie felt all her resolve to confront him about where he had disappeared to crumble as soon as she heard his voice. She had been anxious for weeks, and suddenly she felt at peace talking to him. She was not sure if it wasn't a dream. "Derek? Is that you?" she asked softly. If it was a dream, Millie did not want the dream to end. "It's me," Derek said. He felt guilty hearing Millie's caring voice. Millie was finally sure that she was not dreaming, and her eyes filled with tears. "I've been looking for you for so long. I didn't know where you went." "I know, Millie told me," Derek responded gently. "I'm sorry." "I'm just glad to hear your voice," Millie said. "I was so worried about you." "Do you have some time this Sunday night to talk?" Derek asked. Millie bit her lip. She knew Jake Nevin expected her to meet him at the Rose Hotel on Sunday night, but there was nothing she would rather do than reunite with Derek. She feared this might be her only chance. "Yes," Millie quickly nodded her head. "I have time." The next morning, Olivia and Morgana skipped school and headed straight to the park company offices just as they had agreed. Once they arrived, Violet Cartwright and Jeff Dreyer filled Olivia in on the latest business news and emphasized the moves Mark DeLillo had made with the Rose Company and real estate. "I have to admit, I was suspicious of him, but I still really underestimated this Mark DeLillo fellow." Jeff shook his head. "He's bought up all of the most promising plots of land in Brooklyn." "There's something going on behind the scenes here as well," Violet added. "Bidding offers should be confidential to other buyers. It's too much of a coincidence that he keeps winning these bids on lands for prices that are just slightly above our bids. 1 or 2 times of that happening, sure, but it's like this every time. He wins by bidding just barely above ours. That's not luck. He must have access to our numbers or something. It's very suspicious." Jeff shook his head. Mark behaving suspiciously is something to be expected. Olivia shrugged. How are we doing on our end? We're doing all right, Violet said. We have accomplished the goals we set, so that's good. I'm just annoyed I underestimated Mark. His business model is actually fairly impressive. Jeff sighed. He seemed very bothered. Mark just seemed so stupid. Olivia chuckled at Jeff's frustration. You didn't underestimate him, Olivia said pointedly. You underestimated a certain young lady in the Cooper family who is steering Mark. She raised her eyebrows, giving Jeff the hint. Beatrix Cooper? Jeff asked. He was stunned for a moment. Yep, she's behind all of this. Olivia glanced at the empty coffee pot on the table. Violet, could you please ask Lily Miller to make some coffee? Sure. Violet nodded and walked out. Beatrix Cooper is operating under the Rose Company? Jeff mused incredulously. It all suddenly dawned on him. The Cooper family and the Rose Company have secretly been working together. Now you're getting it, Olivia nodded. The Rose Company has only been making such bold moves with real estate thanks to Beatrix Cooper. Without her, Mark would be nowhere. He must have finally realized he should listen to her instead of digging himself into deeper and deeper holes. This Miss Cooper is really... Jeff frowned as he trailed off, considering Beatrix's formidability. If the Rose Company really wants to go all in on real estate, then... Jeff, let me ask you something. Olivia interrupted Jeff's out-loud thoughts with a smile. What is it? Jeff asked Olivia, a little confused. Are you thinking of jumping ship? Olivia blinked as she waited for an answer. Jumping ship? Jeff exclaimed. He was shocked to hear Olivia suggest such a thing. What do you mean by that? I mean, are you thinking of leaving the park company and going somewhere else that is more suited for you? Olivia explained. Jeff frowned. Are you saying you don't need me around here anymore? Not at all. Olivia smiled. I'm asking you this because I need you. You really know how to give somebody a heart attack. Jeff laughed nervously. I just needed to confirm where we stand before I tell you my new plan, Olivia said. She waved Jeff closer and whispered her plan to him. What? Jeff jumped back in surprise after hearing Olivia's plan. You're kidding. Why would I be kidding? Olivia laughed and confidently leaned back in her chair. Is it really any different than what we've always done? Yes, I think so. Jeff rubbed his chin. Is it really necessary for you to be so ruthless with this plan? Yes, it is necessary. Olivia nodded. No mercy, scorched earth, you're sure? Jeff interrogated. Completely sure. Olivia nodded again. Okay, well, I like it. Jeff suddenly smiled. I'm in. Olivia laughed heartily. She extended her hand to Jeff, and they happily shook on the new plan. When do we start with this plan? Jeff asked. I'm still deciding, Olivia said with a mysterious smile. Olivia! Morgana spoke up sternly from the couch off to the side where she played on her gaming device. You have 2 hours left. As soon as that time is up, you're leaving with me for the doctor. Olivia sighed but nodded. Morgana really is being a stickler about the time, she thought. I'm glad Morgana is staying on top of this. It's a good idea for you to get checked out. Jeff smiled. You have been working yourself ragged these days. We need you, remember? If I don't push myself, I'll never reach my full potential. Olivia shrugged. It's something I have to do. Jeff shook his head at Olivia's stubbornness and did not know how to reply. He understood and respected Olivia's huge ambition. It was why he agreed to join her team in the first place. He wanted to see how far she could go, and he believed in her. He did not know where the endless will to fight came from, but he worried it might come at a cost. Just then, Violet returned from flagging down Lily for coffee, and they continued talking about the Brooklyn real estate situation. A few moments later, Lily silently slipped into the office with a fresh pot of coffee. Olivia saw Lily out of the corner of her eye, but she knew that Lily thought no one had noticed her come in. Real estate is really a solid industry, Olivia said, making sure she was very audible, and lingered her gaze on Lily for one more moment before returning her focus to Jeff and Violet, especially in Brooklyn. Yes, I have looked into it before. Sometime in the next 15 to 30 years, real estate in the U.S. is going to... Violet started to respond. Shh. Olivia quieted Violet as she pretended to have just noticed Lily enter the room. She looked directly at Lily. Why didn't you knock when you came in? Sorry about that. Lily quickly apologized. I had my hands full with the tray and I couldn't knock on the door. It was already a little open, so I just... That's my fault. I forgot to fully close the door just now, Violet said. It's all right, Olivia said sternly. You know what to do from now on. If I catch you spying on me again, Olivia thought to herself. You can go now, thank you. Yes. Lily nodded and turned to leave. As soon as she walked out of the office, she smirked proudly. She thought she finally had some good intel to bring back to her real employer. Back in the office, Olivia and Violet looked at each other and smiled slyly. Looks like she took the bait, Violet said. Well done. Okay, let's continue to talk about the company's summer plan, Olivia continued. The three of them began to discuss. Eventually, Morgana noticed that the 2 hours were nearly up, but she saw how involved their discussion was and did not want to interrupt. She hoped that they would wrap up soon since Olivia had promised to cooperate. Morgana waited another 10 minutes and began to worry. Olivia? Morgana frowned and walked over. We've got to go. Just give me another minute, please, Olivia said and continued talking to Violet and Jeff. Morgana continued to wait. A minute turned into 10 minutes and then half an hour. Morgana watched anxiously as a whole hour had passed. She didn't like to be the bad guy, but Olivia was leaving her no choice. She could not allow Olivia to neglect herself. Olivia, we're going to miss the doctor if we don't go now. There won't be a park company if there is no you. We're taking you to the doctor whether you like it or not. I'll drive you both over, Violet offered as she glanced at her watch. All right, let's go, Olivia conceded and stood to gather her things. Can you handle what we discussed tonight? Of course, Violet said. Come on, I'm not letting you miss the doctor, Morgana said as she dragged Olivia by the arms. She knew they had to at least find out what was affecting Olivia's health. She was very worried about her friend. The three of them walked to the underground parking garage. They had nearly reached the car when Violet's phone buzzed. Violet answered and listened. Her face fell and she hung up. Then she turned to Olivia. Something has happened, she said gravely. Olivia looked at Violet concerned. She did not usually see Violet look caught off guard. If Violet is worried, it must be bad, Olivia thought. What happened? What is it? The lawyer from No World that you asked me to keep an eye on? He's gone missing, Violet answered. He went missing? Olivia exclaimed in disbelief. She was overcome with a sudden, terrible feeling in the pit of her stomach. This can't be good, Olivia thought. How did this happen? Olivia gathered her thoughts after hearing the news that No World's lawyer had gone missing. She quickly made a decision and pulled out her phone. I'm calling my dad. She dialed and held the phone to her ear. Hi, Olivia, Michael said warmly. Olivia cut straight to the point. Dad, I can't make it to the hospital today. Something came up. She glanced at Morgana, who scowled with her arms folded. Morgana is going to kill me, Olivia groaned in her mind. I need you to accompany Mom there today instead, she said to Michael. Oh, that's fine, Michael replied. But what about your appointment? He was also worried about Olivia's health and had been hopeful for some answers from that day's doctor appointment. He wondered if she was trying to avoid it. I'll have to reschedule, Olivia said quickly. Please do that. It'll give us all some peace of mind at least. All right, go ahead with your work. I'll go and pick her up right away, Michael assured her. Okay, thanks so much, Olivia replied and hung up. She turned to Violet. how long will it take us to get to the hotel where the No World reps are staying? About 10 minutes, Violet estimated. They quickly got in the car, set off for the hotel. Olivia turned to Morgana in the car. Please don't be angry. We have to deal with this. I don't really have a choice. Morgana snorted and turned away to scowl and protest. She was furious that Olivia refused to take care of herself in the name of work, yet again. She wondered what Olivia expected them all to do if something happened to her. Olivia saw Morgana was upset. She reached out and patted Morgana's shoulder. Don't worry, I've been resting more. They're just going to check me out and say I'm fine. You don't know that, Morgana snapped. I'm supposed to protect you, but you're not letting me. Olivia sighed. She saw that Morgana's anger came from concern for her well-being, and Olivia knew there could be no more delays after this. She didn't want her friends or her parents to worry anymore. Look, I'll take a leave of absence from work this weekend, and I'll definitely go to the doctor, and you can go with me. I promise. Okay? Are you sure? You promised last time, too. Morgana turned back to face Olivia. She narrowed her eyes suspiciously and folded her arms across her chest. You can't shamelessly put it off anymore. I'm tired of being yanked around when I'm just trying to keep something bad from happening to you. Bad things have already happened to you, in fact, and you can't afford for it to get worse. If you're promising again, you have to keep it. I know, I won't, Olivia agreed. I promise. For real. Good, Morgana finally said and held out her pinky finger. Pinky promise. Olivia linked her pinky with Morgana's. She looked toward Violet as she drove. Okay, what do we know so far? My people from Pluto said they saw some kind of fight break out between the No World reps on the security footage. Then afterwards, the lawyer suddenly went missing. Just disappeared. Violet explained. They've searched the entire hotel but have not found him. Olivia nodded. Tell them to get surveillance footage ready for when we get there. Violet relayed the order into a receiver. A fight? Was he trying to turn against them? Morgana asked. Maybe the lawyer knows they're up to no good and he's on the wrong side. Not sure yet. Olivia shook her head. Hopefully we find out soon. Violet made a left turn and pulled into the hotel parking lot. We're here. A man in a suit immediately ran out from the lobby and respectfully nodded at Violet. After Olivia emerged from the car, he nodded at her as well. Boss? This was one of Violet's agents from the Pluto organization. Lead the way, Olivia replied coldly. She was frustrated but did not have time to address it out loud. How on earth did you all lose this guy? Olivia wondered in frustration. You had 3 people to keep track of and you lost 1. You're supposed to be infamous professionals. The Pluto agent led the 3 of them to the 7th floor of the hotel, and they approached an ordinary-looking room. He used a secret signal to knock on the door, and soon they were let inside. 3 more agents waited inside, operating a sophisticated surveillance system that covered the entire hotel. The agents stood up when they saw Olivia. Boss. They all nodded in a uniform manner. Olivia nodded back politely. Where's the surveillance footage? Here. The agent in front of the computer gestured to a video on his screen. Go ahead and play it, Olivia instructed. Is 1.5 speed good? The agent asked. Yes. Olivia confirmed and locked her eyes on the screen. This is the fight we recorded, the agent explained. Olivia watched the short video that showed the lawyer, Peter Arg, and Bert Albertson talking in the hotel parking lot. They appeared to be arguing. She saw the lawyer was about to walk away from the other 2 men. But Peter Arg caught up to him, grabbed him by the collar, and punched him. Bert Albertson quickly joined in, and the 2 of them ganged up on the lawyer, and a brawl began. A hotel staff member walked in on the scene, but appeared to ignore the scuffle and focus on his job. Why do they look like toddlers trying to fight? Morgana asked disdainfully. They're barely touching each other. There's not even any blood. What is this? Weakling, someone teach them how to punch, please. The agents in the room swallowed uncomfortably at Morgana's ruthless attitude. There is no blood, Olivia muttered to herself and repeated Morgana's words. She narrowed her eyes slightly as she continued to stare at the screen. Play it again, but at normal speed, Olivia instructed. The agent quickly restarted the footage. Olivia focused in on Bert Albertson this time. After watching it again, Olivia understood there were some things that seemed off. She tapped her fingers on the table as she thought. Play it again? Do you want it at normal speed? The agent asked. No, this time play it 3 times faster, Olivia answered. The agent adjusted the speed and played the surveillance footage again. Olivia almost immediately held up her hand and pointed at the screen. Stop. The agent quickly paused the video. Go back, Olivia directed. The agent rewound the footage. Okay, stop right there, Olivia said. She pointed to the hotel staff member who passed by in the background. Can we look closer at them? Why do I get the sense that's not really his uniform? The agent nodded and zoomed in and raised their eyebrows. This person doesn't seem to be a legitimate hotel staff member. How can you tell? Olivia asked. The agent looked again carefully, then nodded. I've been keeping track of everyone who works here. I haven't seen them until now. What if they're just a temp and that's why you don't recognize them? Another agent asked. Do we have other angles of this footage from other cameras? I want to see what he's doing, Olivia said. The agent nodded and pulled up several videos that showed different angles of the same event. Olivia looked over the screen and pointed to one of the videos. This one. Zoom in. After the agent zoomed in on the footage, they saw the alleged imposter hotel staff member throw a black plastic bag into the trunk of a van. Olivia squinted at the vehicle. Check that license plate number. Another agent turned to a different computer and ran a search on the car with the license plate number. It's fake, they said after a moment. We need to find this car. Olivia clenched her fist and tapped on the table urgently. Allow me, Violet said and patted the agent's shoulder to trade places. Once they stood up, she sat down and got to work searching on the computer. This car is currently parked at the entrance of an old warehouse across town. Go to it. I'm pretty sure you'll find the lawyer there. When you do, bring him back, Olivia said to the Pluto agents. A few of them nodded and quickly left the room. After about an hour and a half, the agents returned. One of them quietly said to Olivia, When we arrived, the warehouse was engulfed in flames. Someone set it on fire. Set it on fire? Olivia frowned, shocked. Fire is the last thing I was expecting, she thought to herself. The agent nodded to confirm. Are you guys okay? Olivia asked, concerned. We're fine, the agent assured her. We have good news, though. We found the lawyer. Olivia couldn't believe what she had heard, that the Pluto agent found New World's lawyer in a warehouse that had just been set on fire. Is he alive? She asked. The agent nodded. Yes, but he is very badly burned. Olivia felt like she'd just found $100 bill on the sidewalk. It's fine, as long as he's not dead and can speak. Olivia turned to Violet Cartwright. Each one of your agents will be paid $100,000 for their hard work. Yes, miss. Violet nodded. The eyes of the Pluto agents and the assistant group lit up. Thank you, boss, they each said. Olivia raised her hand. It's fine. You all deserve it. The lawyer was then brought into the room. He was clearly injured and needed to be supported by men on either side in order to walk. He was still wearing the same tattered, scorched suit from before. His shirt was almost completely gray and only half of its tie was left. His skin was clean but scarred, and he had large bandages covering much of his visible skin. He didn't make eye contact with her, looking down at the floor. The assistant group members helped him down onto the sofa. She took a step forward, assessing him. Hello, I'm Olivia Johnson from the Park Company. I heard that you've been waiting to see me. The lawyer looked curiously up at the 18-year-old girl in front of him. His mouth opened like he was about to reply, but then he defiantly closed it again. Olivia looked at all of the assassin group members around her. Does he need any more medical care first? One spoke up. We already treated him on the way back. For what he endured, his burns are relatively mild. They're just large. We've given him a lot of medicine. He just needs to rest now and recover. Olivia sat across from the lawyer in an armchair. That's good. Violet and Morgana, you stay behind. The rest of you can go. The assistant group members immediately walked out upon receiving Olivia's order. After they left, closing the door behind them, Olivia was not in a hurry to speak. She pulled out her phone, replying to a few emails as if the lawyer did not exist. She bent over her phone, scrolling. The lawyer's hoarse voice broke the silence. Chairman Johnson. Olivia raised her eyes to him. He paused a moment. Thank you for saving my life. Olivia put her phone away and folded her hands in front of her. You are welcome. The lawyer looked out into the distance, shaking his head. I really did not think they would be so ruthless. He still seemed to be in shock about what had happened to him. Olivia smiled sympathetically. Did you really not think they were like that? Searching his memory, the lawyer disappeared into his thoughts. Then his face alternated between green and white. After a while, he sighed heavily. I was blinded by money. I think I knew. But I could pretend there was a possibility they were not. Olivia crossed her arms. So what are you going to do? Me? The lawyer looked out the windows at the New York skyline. I don't know. Olivia lightly chided him. This is what happens when you make your bed with wolves. You've got to sleep in it. He only sighed again. Olivia thought that this man probably did not deserve much of her pity. He was only the victim in the situation because his associates made the first move. He was lucky her people had found him. The lawyer glanced at her timidly, as if weighing something. Olivia let out a long breath. All right, I feel like that look on your face is because you're wondering if I expect you to repay me for saving your life. I do not. She waved him toward the door. You can leave. The lawyer was stunned. What? Really? He had been certain that she would be grilling him for information about Bert and Peter. He was wildly confused that she would let him go so easily. Yes. Olivia frowned, looking confused. What? Were you hoping to stay for dinner? He blinked. Then I guess just thank you, Chairman Johnson. He moved to stand up, but the pain of it made him grit his teeth. He forced himself to stand and walk toward the door, step by slow, tenuous step. Olivia leaned back in the armchair languidly. You're welcome. When you get out of the door here, be careful. He stopped in his tracks and turned back to look at Olivia. What do you mean? He glanced nervously at Violet and Morgana. He wasn't sure if Olivia was threatening him. Olivia shrugged. Since those guys already think that you pose more value alive than dead and are trying to silence you, you must know too much. The lawyer's chin quivered. His situation immediately snapped into focus. Olivia smiled kindly. So be safe out there. Good luck. The lawyer suddenly felt like he wouldn't dare walk out that door. He took 3 steps back to Olivia and dropped to his knees, crying out in pain. Chairman Johnson, save me! Olivia tilted her head with a puzzled expression on her face. Didn't I save you already? He wailed, begging. If I leave here now, I will die. I beg of you, save me again. Olivia concentrated on the lawyer's thoughts, feeling the familiar tingle in her temple from whenever she used her powers. This dumb, overprivileged child has to save me. She heard him think to himself. She needs to keep me alive long enough to figure out how to get back into Bert and Peter's good graces. Olivia shook her head. She raised her eyebrows. Beg me? There are too many people who are already begging me for things every day. Besides, I've already saved you once and you want it again. Weren't you being a bit too greedy? Goodbye, Violet, escort him out. The lawyer's face went pale. Violet stepped toward him and he held up a hand. He immediately understood that Olivia saw right through him. He gritted his teeth. Chairman Johnson, I know I couldn't expect that for nothing. I have information I can give you. I will tell you everything." Olivia laughed slightly. "All right, but make sure that what you share is worth exchanging." She gestured lazily. "Get up." He stood up quickly but wavered on his feet. He did not dare to sit in his old seat on the sofa. He endured the pain of standing. The evidence we were using to sue Confluence was half true and half false. Olivia frowned. "What do you mean by that?" The lawyer looked up at the ceiling, remembering. "The true information was given to us by a few people on the board of directors for Confluence Technology. There's no issue with that information." Olivia's eyes widened. That was a surprise to her. She had known she had a mole somewhere in the company, but the board. The lawyer didn't notice her reaction, continuing. "But we did get someone to modify that evidence to shore up our case. So there is a problem with any of that evidence. As a lawyer with decades of experience, I know exactly where the lines are." Olivia rolled her eyes. "Wow, that's amazing." When he heard her sarcastic praise, he froze, unsure of how to proceed. Olivia asked, "How did the Confluence board connect with your game studio?" He shrugged. "I'm not sure. They reached out to Mr. Ark out of the blue. They didn't give a clear reason and only said that they wanted to work with us. They said that if we won, we would have a large sum of money to look forward to. If we won, they were going to use that to oust your father as the Confluence CEO. Olivia scoffed. There it was, the reason for all of this. They had come for her father. Since he had set a goal for profits and said that he would step down if he didn't reach that goal, they were hoping for him to fail. But the income from his game was doing spectacularly, and the park company's partnership with Confluence was keeping everything running according to plan. Without the lawsuit, it was clear he wouldn't have any trouble meeting his goal. Olivia looked up at the lawyer as she processed all of that. "Aren't you afraid that they will go back on their word with you?" He sighed. "Actually, the main reason we agreed was that another person came to us and gave a large sum of money to Peter Ark up front to do it." After mentioning Peter, the lawyer gritted his teeth. "That animal is really greedy. He took all of the money. He didn't share it with us, and he was bold enough to want us to kill someone too." Olivia remembered the message in the recording that she got from Millie. The person he wanted to kill was Sam Feinstein, right? The lawyer nodded. "Yes, it was. I didn't think we could get away with it, so I said no. But even if I didn't do anything, they must have thought of me as a danger to them because I knew." Olivia shook her head. "These men." "So in the end," she asked, "you angered Peter and Bert, so they beat you up to silence you?" The lawyer's shoulders sagged. He only nodded. Olivia shifted in her seat, facing the lawyer's head on. "Who was the person who gave Peter the money up front to sue us?" The lawyer looked more nervous than he had since he began his confessions. He is someone very powerful, from a very powerful family." Olivia's curiosity was piqued hearing that someone from a very powerful family had helped orchestrate the No World lawsuit. But she didn't want to seem too eager to the lawyer to find out who. She had been wondering if someone from one of the 7 families was out to get her. She sneered. "Whoever this person is, I guarantee you they're not as powerful as they think they are." She went out of her way to make a disdainful expression. The lawyer's eyes widened. He was shocked by her brazen attitude. Olivia waved a finger at him. "Speak. I want to know which person plotted against me." The lawyer was still hesitant. "Yes, of course." He was shocked at the idea that Olivia was really more powerful than that man. He wondered, was it a bluff? He did not know what to do. Olivia rolled her eyes and jerked her head toward the door. "If you don't want to say it, then leave. Peter Ark and Bert Albertson will tell me what I want to know." The lawyer decided he believed that Olivia still had the means to get what she needed without him. He had no other way out at that point besides believing in Olivia. I will tell," he cried. "They're from a family that was originally very powerful." Olivia sighed. "You told me that already 5, 4, 3. The lawyer gritted his teeth as if he expected to be struck. He's from the Rose family. He's the young patriarch of the Rose family, but he has a different surname from his mother's side of the family. That's who called us. Olivia smiled. The Rose family? Mark DeLillo, huh? She should have seen that coming. It was almost too obvious. She had let her focus stray from him for one moment too long, and this was how he retaliated. Having revealed this, the lawyer was overcome with panic. Chairman Johnson, save me, I beg you. I don't want to die. Help me. I really don't want to die. Olivia waved a hand dismissively. Don't worry, just stay here. There will be people guarding you. He looked uneasily around the room. Can I go home? Yes, I can find someone to escort you back. Olivia walked toward the door. But once you leave New York City, you will leave my territory. Once you're out of my territory, I hope you know you're on your own. Olivia walked out of the room without a look back. Violet and Morgana followed after her. Before Morgana left, she looked at the pale, sweaty lawyer with disdain. Morgana felt like that greedy, selfish man did deserve to die. She closed the door behind them. Left alone, the lawyer's mind went blank. He knelt on the floor. He wondered if he was really out of options, and this was what the rest of his life would look like from then on his knees on the floor of a random hotel room. He knew it was too late for him to regret the choices he had made. He'd made his bed. He had to sleep with the wolves. It was because of greed that he had harmed others. After Olivia exited the room, she turned to Violet. Did you record it? Yes, Violet replied simply. Morgana made a face. It's not worth it to delay your trip to the doctor for such a piece of human garbage. Olivia nodded, smiling. It's not worth it for him, but for information on Mark DeLillo, it is very, very worth it. Violet nodded. They all approached the entrance of the hotel and saw a group smoking outside. They all immediately put out their cigarettes and gave Olivia polite nods when they saw her. Olivia waved and returned their nod. There is no need for so many people to guard this place. We can have 2 people to stay behind to take shifts, and Violet, please send 2 other people to protect Sam Feinstein. Violet agreed. Olivia left the hotel. Just as she got into the car, Olivia saw Bert Albertson passing by. He held a pack of cigarettes in a trembling hand. He put one in his mouth and tried to light it, his hand shaking too badly to get the lighter to catch. He finally lit it and took a desperate drag. It seemed like he was terrified. The corner of Olivia's mouth lifted slightly. She looked forward to the negotiation with him the next day. Night passed and morning came. At the agreed-upon private room where the negotiation would be taking place, Olivia arrived with Millie and Francis. Peter Ark and Bert Albertson did not arrive late in an attempted power move like the time before. They were early. When they saw Olivia walk in, Peter and Bert were stunned. After she sat down across from them at the conference table, Peter Ark spoke up. This must be Chairman Johnson. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Olivia smiled. Hello. I hope the 2 of you do not mind that I'm here. Peter laughed lightly. Not at all. It's very good that you're here. He had set reporters up to come later. This was working out even better than he had hoped. Bert frowned. Why don't I see Sam Feinstein? Millie responded breezily. He had something else to do. Strange, I don't see your lawyer either. Is it because he had something else to do as well? Yes, Peter replied, missing a beat. He looked sympathetic. Something happened last minute at his house. He went back yesterday. Olivia raised her eyebrows. Oh, what a coincidence. Well, I have something here that the 2 of you might be interested in. Peter leaned forward. What is it? Olivia gestured to Francis. Why don't you 2 listen to it yourself? Francis took out his phone. He hit play on an audio file. The sound of Bert's dive bar conversation with the lawyer emanated from the phone. As they listened to the recording, Bert's face dropped. Peter's turned green. Bert had no idea that anyone was listening that day, let alone recording. Olivia waited until the recording finished, mouthing along to the words she'd memorized about Bert and the lawyer mentioned the possibility of killing Sam Feinstein, and looked at the two of them with a smile. I wonder what the two of you think. Bert immediately waved a finger wildly. This is not what I said. This has been tampered with. It's clearly AI. Millie frowned. Interesting. Nobody said it was you on the recording, but you seem so sure that it is. How is that possible? Bert's eyes widened. Peter elbowed him hard and he shut his mouth. Peter folded his hands, trying to seem calm. Technology is very advanced nowadays. It is not difficult to synthesize an audio recording. Francis chimed in. Yeah, I have another version I used to remove the noise. Do you want to hear it? Peter ignored him. Although I don't know much about the law, Millie spread her hands. Because your lawyer is mysteriously not here? Peter continued. But I know that a non-consensual recording cannot be used as evidence. Olivia nodded. I'm not planning to use it as evidence. You think too much. I'm just giving you guys a listen. There are too many things that can be used as evidence. This audio is just for fun. Hearing Olivia's words, Peter's stomach sank even further. He did not know what important evidence Olivia had. Olivia tapped the table with her fingertip. By the way, did that lawyer really go home? Why do I feel that whole story is a little strange? Bert's face reddened. What? Why is it strange? It's not a story. What are you insinuating? It's nothing, she replied. It's just that your lawyer contacted me yesterday morning and said that he had something important to tell me. And suddenly he went home today? Olivia paused, deliberately keeping them in suspense. This whole thing isn't making sense. Could it be that something happened to him? Olivia's words made Peter and Bert break out in a cold sweat. She smiled and shrugged. Maybe I should call the police. At that moment, the door of the conference room was suddenly pushed open. A crowd of reporters rushed in like a swarm of bees, holding cameras and recording equipment and taking pictures. Despite the fact that Olivia was not expecting the reporters, she stayed calm. She knew immediately that this was the No World guys trying to take her by surprise. She refused to give them the satisfaction. Since you are here, then all of you should probably stay here. Olivia suddenly smiled strangely at the crowd of reporters. Before the reporters could ask what she meant, the door of the room behind them was slammed shut from the outside. They all heard the click of the lock. Olivia tapped each of her fingertips on the table one by one. Nobody can leave here until we resolve this matter, however long it takes. Her smile was confident, and her eyes were cold. Since her enemies were being so bold, she thought that it was time for all of the people of New York to see who they should really be afraid of. And to Mark DeLillo, she thought with a sinister glimmer of excitement, just you wait.